How's it going, YouTube? So, something that a lot of people don't know about me is that my family goes back in this area a very long time. My ancestors settled in the what's now known as the Hershey, Pennsylvania area way back in the latter part of the 17th century. And so when I was growing up here in town, of course, in those days it was known as Dairy Church. It was settled as Dairy Church, the farmland around this area. And so when I was growing up here in this town, we had two sides of the family. Had the Pennsylvania Dutch side, who were masons and stone workers, and we had the Amish side, who were dairy farmers. So my great-grandfather and his father before him were dairy farmers here. This is the Amish side here in town and in the area. And when Milton Hershey came to Dairy Church and built his now famous classic chocolate factory and the town surrounding it for his workers, my great-grandfather ended up working for Milton, both selling him milk and also then later they became acquaintances. And he also became a foreman for Milton Hershey way back in the early days of his factory. Now, Milton Hershey was known as a bit of a fastidious, shall we say, kind of guy, and he didn't do a lot of impetuous. He kept let's just say he kept a schedule. But one of the things he did really love to do, reportedly, is show up in the factory at all hours of the night and day, sort of to keep his workers on their toes. And so one night, the story in my family that was passed down through my family, one night Milton just kind of showed up. Maybe he couldn't sleep, don't really know the full story, but he struck up a conversation with my great-grandfather, and I have no idea about the details of what the conversation, how the conversation came about or anything like that. All I know is that somehow the conversation got onto milk chocolate, which was obviously a really huge topic that Milton had been working on for the past several years to create his wonderful milk chocolate that they made. And somehow the topic of a cake came up, a milk chocolate cake that Milton had said that he had had a dream about. And the only thing that really, the only detail that I have of this milk chocolate cake was that it had billowy clouds of milk chocolate topping. So we're left to total interpretation of what this cake in his dream was. But I thought, all through my childhood, I always wondered, what would that cake have been? What was that dream cake that he had in his dream, and what might it have looked like, tasted like? And so I can only assume that he was dreaming of his own milk chocolate and his own products that were under development in those early days of the chocolate factory. And since I always wondered what that cake might be like, I thought it would be fun to kind of do an experiment and see what I could dream up using strictly Hershey products. And this cake very much was just an experiment. I wasn't really sure what I was going to come up with. I haven't cut into it yet. This is one of a kind. So if it's amazing, who knows, maybe one day I'll offer it for sale. So let's just go check out what I came up with here, and we'll see what happens with this. Okay, so now we're going to see how this milk chocolate dream cake comes together. And obviously, before you even start mixing your batter, just make sure that you preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. So the first thing we're going to do is, into a stand mixer with a paddle attachment, we have the 4 eggs and 2 yolks going. And we're just going to break those up for a few seconds, break them up. And then as soon as those are broken up, we're going to put the 10 ounces of granulated sugar into that. And while I'm at it, I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of excellent vanilla extract into here. Tablespoon of that. And we're going to whip that up kind of frothy. Get that nice and combined. Then we're going to scrape in the cooled down chocolate mixture. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create something of an emulsion here, and we're just going to add this room temperature unsalted butter into the batter a little bit at a time. So once you see that you have all of the little chunks of room temperature butter incorporated into the chocolate batter, now it's time to add the dry ingredients, and we're going to alternate with the buttermilk and sour cream mixture that we made, a little bit at a time till everything comes together. And then lastly, after you take it off the mixer, just give it one final stir. Make sure everything's completely smooth, that it came together. Seems to be a rather moist batter, and hopefully that means it's going to bake up into a really nice moist cake. And we'll see in a little bit. In Milton's dream, he spoke of that the cake was multiple layers. So I take that to be more than 2. And so I'm splitting these layers. So in order to get these cakes to be, a nice full cake, I'm going to weigh these pans. That's the best way to make sure that your layers are nice and even anyway, no matter what kind of cake you're making. So now that you have your cake batter evenly into your pans, now we're going to bake these. I'm going to set a timer for 25 minutes. These are probably going to take between 30 and 35, but we'll check with the skewer and do the little, push test. So put these in the center racks of your oven, and then you're going to want to rotate these about halfway through. Okay, so I pulled out our cake layers and they look fine. It took exactly 35 minutes. But you want to keep checking on it to make sure that they're done. You'll see the cake come away from the side of the pan a little bit, and it'll spring back up when you press into it. So what I did here was I just flipped these over onto a wire cooling screen, and I cut some slits in the parchment paper just so the steam has a place to escape. And then you want to just remove the parchment paper. And if you're frosting these right away, you're going to have to let these cake layers cool completely before you try to split them, because I'm going to split these milk chocolate cake layers so that we can get a really nice cake with this. So either you just let these cool completely on the counter, and you could even wrap them really tight and put the layers in the refrigerator for a few hours. Make sure that everything's set before you try to split these. In Milton's dream of the milk chocolate cake, he said that there were piles of billowy, pillowy milk chocolate frosting on top. And the most chocolatey type of frosting that I know of that could fit that description is a whipped ganache. And today, that's what we're going to bake here using the Hershey's Classic Milk Chocolate Bars. So then when you have your milk chocolate cut fine, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to measure out 1.5 cups of organic heavy cream here. And you want to put this over very low heat. 1 tablespoon of organic vanilla bean paste. A tablespoon of organic corn syrup, a scant teaspoon of sea salt. So as soon as your hot cream mixture comes to the boil, just pour it straight over all this chocolate here. So you'll see the ganache come together before your eyes like magic. So just like any other buttercream, we're going to whip in this unsalted butter. Okay, so as I said from the very beginning, this cake was very much just an experiment, just something I thought I would try. We used a butter cake, chocolate butter cake using all Hershey products, and I'll have the complete recipe of what we did here today in case you wanted to give this a try just for fun. But now, the suspense is killing me, and we're going to cut into this and see what we came up with here. So I'm just going to cut a small piece for myself because this thing's definitely not going to qualify for low calorie. That is for sure. So I finished the top with these little Hershey Hugs Kisses because I think they're really beautiful little candies, even though I'm sure they did not have hugs at the time of the Milton's Dream. So we're just going to try to remove this little piece of cake here. And that's what it looks like. And I'll tell you what, this stuff is so delicious. I am going to finish that with that chocolate pudding. I mean, why not? Make extra. So let's see what this ended up tasting like here. Wow. Super moist butter cake. It's much more dense than a regular sponge cake, but wow, is that amazing. That is really delicious. Try not to make such a mess this time. Yummy. That's all I have to say. So there you have it, folks. If you're looking for something maybe a little bit offbeat, a little different, you love the taste of Hershey's milk chocolate like so many Americans do, give this cake a try and see what your family thinks. Personally, I think it's amazing. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you soon.